Hey guys, this right here in the background is not what you are used to of how I travel, but I am on the cruise, as you can see from what's through my window.
We were picked up at our hostel and brought to the cruise. Here we were welcomed with iced tea or coffee. We had to fill out our personal information and got an explanation about the optional activities. We then got to check into our room, and I must admit it had seen better days. For the price that we paid, we weren't expecting much, but we definitely got a room that had a lot of flaws. It had the worst shower ever, worse than in hostels.
I managed to get a deal for $50 a night per person, and I am sharing with a Chilean girl. She will get here by lunchtime and then she can check in after lunch. But we have 2 nights on this boat and a whole day visiting the Edfu Temple and also the Kom Ombo Temple along the way to Luxor. So we will end back in Luxor, and then from Luxor I will make my way to Cairo and Siwa and many more places. But for now, we are on this luxurious boat and all meals are included. We also have tea time in the afternoon, and we want to go on a sunset Felucca Ride, even going swimming in the Nile. Yes, there are Nile crocodiles, but it should be fine. Stay tuned if you want to know if it was.
First, we made our way down for lunch, which was super elaborate. They even have a pasta station, which we all loved. The staff were super friendly. After lunch, I headed out for a bit.
Alright, now that I have finally managed to get in my room, my Chinese friends and I, we have done some ship shopping because on the ship the drinks are not included, and I also got myself a little snack. So I'm going to put this in the mini fridge. I also brought stuff for my roomie who hasn't arrived yet, and I might go out for some extra sodas because I love the Schweppes lemonades that they have here. They have pomegranate and pineapple, which are just my favorite things. So I might go and grab some of those as well.
I spent some time relaxing on the upper deck and went to the modest tea time before we started our Felucca ride at 4:30.
The water is a bit cold, but it was so refreshing. 10 out of 10, recommend. That's another one off the bucket list.
After our refreshing dip in the Nile, we visited the Aswan Botanical Garden.
This is by far the least maintained botanical garden I've ever visited, especially the first part. The second part seems to be a lot nicer, but the views over the Nile are definitely worthwhile.
We did spot a hop in the garden though. I love this bird. We then got back to the boat to continue floating around the Nile until the sun set behind the mountains. Egyptian pounds for the excursion, and I gave the sailor another 200 tip.
Good morning, guys. We had an amazing Felucca ride last night. No crocodiles in the water, thank God. But yeah, it was amazing, and our guide or our shipper, he was amazing as well. Dinner once again was delicious and so many different options.
I definitely took advantage of the fish whilst it was included in the meals, and we watched the night lights along the Nile.
And this morning we woke up quite early for breakfast at 6, which the pasta station turned into an egg station, which was kind of nice. And now we have arrived at Kom Ombo. We were sailing throughout the night, well, from about 2 a.m. and now we are getting off the boat and doing our first visit of the day, which is Kom Ombo Temple. The Kom Ombo Temple was dedicated to the falcon god and also the crocodile god. So you will see lots of crocodiles on the hieroglyphs and on the walls. And there's also a museum of crocodiles where they have mummified crocodiles apparently. So you can visit that whilst you are on site as well. It's funny because the walls sometimes just seem like an ancient comic book. They just tell stories with pictures. So aside from it being sometimes a vision board, like we said in the Valley of the Kings, like manifesting how they would be after they died, it's also kind of a comic book.
Once we reached the Crocodile Museum, we were happy that we didn't have to pay an extra entry. We were amazed by the size of these mummified crocs. They looked so super scary. At the museum, you could also see what they looked like when they were mummified, even some crocodile eggs and fetuses, and also what the tombs looked like.
We are back on the boat. The visit didn't last that long, but we were pretty much the first people off the boat and we managed to beat the crowds, even though I thought everyone would kind of set off at the same time. This was not the case. We didn't get a guide, but there are like these signs everywhere that explain everything so well. And the Crocodile Museum at the end is very impressive. The crocodile mummies are there as well. They are so huge and so intimidating. I'm not a big reptile fan. I pretty much only like the turtles. But yeah, it was very interesting to see. So it is definitely an added value to this visit compared to the other temples we visited. I'm just sat on the top deck right now. I'm just looking out on the temple, but also the Nile. And I look up and a kingfisher is flying by. I love kingfishers so much, so yeah, it's a sign of a beautiful morning.
We spent the next 5 hours on the boat taking in the beautiful views along the banks of the Nile and enjoying more amazing food. It didn't matter to me if I was on this cheap, a tiny bit crappy boat, or on a beautiful, more luxurious dahabia, which is a smaller wooden ship, a bit more romantic, or an authentic felucca, which is more like a hostel or camping experience with some more local stops. Either way, being on the Nile is unforgettable. And there is no Wi-Fi unless you pay extra, so taking in the views while you go for a swim or read is all you have to do.
After spending some time relaxing on the deck and also having snack time and lunchtime, we are now arriving in Edfu. In Edfu we will have 2 hours to visit the Edfu Temple and then some more hours relaxing on the deck.
Once you get off the ship with your boarding pass, the horse carriages will offer you a ride to the temple. But I prefer a tuk-tuk because these animals are treated poorly and it's way too hot for them to do this kind of work. Once you arrive at the temple, you pay the entrance again and start exploring.
As we arrived with our tuk-tuk at the entrance, there was some kind of gate made and they would charge us like £5 just to skip the gate so that we could make a shortcut. So that's another one of the very famous scams that you can find here in Egypt.
The first pylon is in almost perfect condition. You really get an idea of how these temples looked when they were first constructed. The Temple of Horus is a magnificent temple that is dedicated to the falcon god Horus. It was built in the Ptolemaic period. It is in excellent condition despite being over 2,000 years old, which is relatively young by Egyptian standards. The Christians eventually had a kitchen here, which caused a fire resulting in the black ceiling. The way that the light enters and how it casts a shadow on the hieroglyphs is really special here. Nowadays, it is even home to some bats.
This temple has so many different rooms. It really feels like a labyrinth and it kind of feels like a modern church as well, with the main altar and then some smaller chapels around. There are different kind of hallways and pathways with stairs leading up to different levels. It's really a big temple.
This temple structure was so massive, and the dark rooms and bats really added a lot of mystique and mystery to the place. After an hour, our tuk-tuk guys picked us up again, and I politely declined a picture with them before getting back on the boat, where we played a game of pool as we waited for the boat to leave again and tea time to start. But first we had to pass underneath the Edfu Bridge. It was quite a close call. Then the staff had to resurrect the top deck, which they had to put down for the bridge, before finally tea time started. I was ready for a nap and the wind started blowing so much, but I didn't want to miss a moment of the views along the Nile. This was honestly a dream come true for me. We watched the sunset and had our final dinner on board while we were docked in Esna with some vendors trying to hustle. We were served extra authentic Egyptian cuisine, some of my favorite dishes like koshari, and unreal desserts. After dinner, we had to pass through the Esna Dam. This was very interesting to witness, and vendors were trying hard to sell from their boats on the Luxor side of the dam. We sailed through the night and checked out after breakfast.
That is it for this video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, then definitely give this video a thumbs up and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you don't want to miss any of the upcoming videos. And then I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!